If you're a working mother or mother-to-be who would like to strike a balance between caring for your family and succeeding in business, welcome to Mother Industrialist Live Show, where we talk about entrepreneurship, parenting, and life. Kenneth Chu, the show host, brings in a different guest every episode to share how to perfectly balance parenting and work. Today, more than ever, you can choose to live life on your own terms, to craft a future for yourself and your family that is emotionally and financially rewarding. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 45 of Mother Industrialist Live Show, where we talk about entrepreneurship, parenting, and life. I'm the host Kenneth, and I'm also the author of Mother Industrialist. This is my book. So in my book, I've interviewed 15 mompreneurs that I personally know in the past 10 years. I've interviewed them and featured their inspiring story to all the readers, especially the mothers. And in the book itself, I've also shared the 3 P's that a mother can use to start their business, which is passion, purpose, and profit. So today is not about me, and today I have this really awesome guest. She's really inspiring. She's a mompreneur that I connected recently, and I'm so inspired by her. And she's so eager, and finally I got her onto the show. She's a coach. She's also a certified soul language practitioner. She's also a podcast host. And without further ado, let us welcome Laura. Hi,
Hey,
Laura.
hi. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again, and thanks for making
thank
time
you.
to come onto my show. I'm really glad and really blessed to have you onto the show. So before
Thank
we
you.
start, there's always this tradition that every guest gets to post a question of the day out to the audience and also to the next guest. So are you ready to answer the question of the day posted by the previous guest before we can officially kickstart with the show?
What's the question?
Okay, so the question posted by the previous guest is, what is this one thing that you haven't done yet that you want to do now? So I repeat again, what is this one thing that you haven't done yet that you want to do it now? Okay, you got the question?
Yes,
Alright.
I do.
Okay, spend some time
Thank
to
you.
think about it while I go onto
Okay.
Facebook Live to check if we are live successfully and if our audio are good to go. Let me just check. Okay, we're live. Yes, our second. Okay, I can hear my voice. Okay. So normally I will hear more of my voice before yours. Just waiting for your part to come out. Okay, I got you loud and clear. Okay, so Laura, are you ready with your answer to the question of the day?
Yes.
Okay, share it with us.
Okay. This is really outside the box, but I want to travel more. I want to see places I haven't seen.
Wow.
Whether it's in this country as well as others. I've been to France and I've been to Spain a little bit. I've also been to Italy a little bit. But it's exciting to me to think about Norway and going on the train ride up to see the northern stars, right? Or to travel out west in my country in California. I'd like to see those places. So yeah, there's things I'm looking forward to.
Wow. Thanks a
Doing
lot.
more.
And now we can officially kickstart with the show. So maybe Laura, can you do a short introduction of yourself? Where are you from? What were you doing prior to you starting your own business or doing what you are doing now? And also, what's your journey like? Maybe you can share it with us so that the audience get to know more about you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, great. Yes. So I live in the USA, in New Jersey, little town called Frenchtown at this time. And I grew up in New Jersey, and I grew up in a home in North Jersey. And then I married, after being raised, I was married and I had 4 children. But prior to that, while growing up, I had endured a lot of abuse in my home. So there was a mission for me to create a new experience for my children. And so I was looking for that. I studied early childhood education, and then worked in nursery schools. And then I became a mom, and I needed to run a business out of my home because I was very intent on being mom at home and not, being available to my children. And so two things I did. One is I found a community, knowing that I would repeat patterns if I did not find a community that could help reinforce positive parenting style. And this is years ago. My children are grown up now. But I also started a business in custom interiors while raising my family. So I made window treatments and really grew in my art. But what brought me to this, what I'm doing now, is my children grew up, and I also, because of my experience, had further journey to go. And as I grew and healed a lot of my own patterns and so forth, I was able to realize that it was time for me to share these gifts with other moms who are also enduring these kinds of transitions.
Yep. That is very inspiring, and also to hear how you come to where you are today because of your experiences, and also now you are imparting all these experiences and sharing it, and through your coaching, and through you even practicing it now at the same time. And at the same time, I'm so blessed to be interviewed by you in your podcast, and we just had a chit chat and realized that, hey, you have a very interesting story to share. And now I'm like after I spoke on your show, and now you are on my show, so it's really amazing. And how we get connected like that. And like you also bring us to today's topic, which is how to go from reaction to loving response. And I'm really curious that when we decided on this topic, I have some idea on it, and maybe you can share with us, what do you mean by reaction to loving response?
Yes. So reaction in life, when we're faced with different things in life, reaction is when we are actually quickly giving energy to something that we haven't thought about first. So say, the children aren't getting ready, and you get into that reaction mode of, hey, stop, and the yelling and so forth, or maybe it's other things that we feel fearful about. We're in that reaction, right? And what happens is we're all up in our heads and in our fear, and we're not connected with our hearts. So going from reaction, or reaction is actually, usually we regret it later. We feel bad later. So by taking moments to go through a few steps, we have the opportunity to get back into our hearts, connect, assess the situation, and then go forward in loving response that benefits both the child and the parent, or any experience in life, really.
Okay. So I believe that you may have some coaching that we are asking you that is easy said than done. Like, it's also always easy to say, okay, I will pause, I will react later on. But it's so hard. How am I going to do that? Is it possible? Will they ask you things like that?
Yes. And part of what I do as a soul language practitioner is helps people to get more connected with themselves even prior to situations. Oftentimes what we'll do is we'll sit in a situation that you recall from another time, and then begin to understand what was going on for you in that experience. Usually our reaction is coming from, like I said, fear or a previous experience that caused us to feel in fear or not enough, like we're not enough. Oh, I have to cover over this kind of idea. Anyway, that once we go through that previously to a new situation, now we have the opportunity to choose a different path. And bring ourselves back into responding, because we are all it's not that we're perfect or will ever be perfect. It's the tools on how to get where we want to be
Yep.
that we're talking about here.
Because what you have shared is very similar to what I've learned, and using that to really recap and really going through what was that thought process of us reacting in that previous incident. It could be by doing that, it set us for some awareness, right? That means when we
Yes.
are recalling that,
Yes.
and we will have this awareness of, hey, why are we reacting in this way, in this manner? Because
Hmm.
of something that has been said or something that triggered the emotion. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned, that it could be a previous experience, it could be when we were young, we were treated like that, in the same response like how our parents are treating us, and now we are
Hmm.
doing the same, like the pattern, back to our children, because that was how we were dealt with when we were a child, and it was so embedded in us that we are just following it by reacting it, because it's like emotion. Is that quite similar?
Yes, and to add to that is that there are behaviors that our children sometimes are doing that we're not clear about why this is happening.
Hmm.
And so maybe our children have been labeled, with some of
Uh,
these, ADD,
hmm.
ADHD,
Yep.
and so there's also the mixed feeling of really wanting our child to be all they can be, yet we don't know how to handle certain situations, and we become fearful of that too.
Hmm.
Or we're even worried about what other people think about us and our
Yep.
parenting.
Yeah.
you know
I guess you point out something that is very important, that a lot of parents, I do not know about in United States, but in Asia countries, we are very conscious of how other people look at us, especially in our
Mhm.
parenting.
Mhm.
And typically, people like to comment on other people's parenting and say, hey, this is not the way you should teach your children. But that's my children. My children react differently from yours. We are of a different
Mhm.
parents. Like a lot of time, we like to tell other people how to parent, where we ourselves, we are first time parents. And
Yes.
more often, some of them will think that they are very experienced parents because they have 2 to 3 kids, but that does not give them the capacity to comment, or even to teach another parent how to parent. Yeah, so this is what I see, that a lot of parents are in this dilemma, or in this, what do I call that? They are too mindful about how other people look at them and how they
Mhm.
parent their children, and that causes them to have, um, not able to parent it the way that will unleash the potential from of their children. In fact,
Yeah.
is they are always being dictated of how they're going to parent. Sometimes it's even from our own parents, like my father or my mom will tell me, Kenneth, this is how you should teach your children. But
Yeah.
I have experienced the teaching from you. So for me, definitely, I know what I will need to use, what I will change, to make my child or my daughter to have, the best experience, the best childhood experience, or even to unleash the potential. Like like I mentioned to you, like my daughter now, she's 9 years old, and before we start
Mm.
the show, I just shared with you a good news that she scored a distinction in her music, which is something that in the past I wish that I could do something like that. In like I could learn a musical instrument, I could even to go for exam and score grades. And for me and my wife, we never expect, that our daughter will even get a distinction. Like if let's say she get married, we are already very happy. We have no expectation, but that was the area that we see that she has potential in. She may not be very good in academic wise, but she's very, give I would say talented. We see some talent in her, in music, in humming. She loves to sing. She loves to
Mhm.
draw, which is very much, like me, um, because I'm an artist. I'm a designer. I was trained in fashion designing. I was, very good in arts, but the problem is it was not being nurtured. But when it's my time as a parent, I would want to nurture her, because I see that, like, she resembles, some of me and my wife, because me and my wife, we have musical background. Like I'm from the band, my wife learned the piano, so we see that in her. That's why we see that, okay, is the best time for her to nurture that. Although it may cost a bit, but now we can see something that's happening, that she's more eager to learn. So like we mentioned before, like you say that why our children are reacting that way, it could be because of us, how we look at ourselves as parents, and
Yes.
how we're going to judge ourselves. And
Yes.
sometimes it's very affected by what people say about us in our parenting, which is very, very important. And just now, you mentioned about the reaction. So how about how to go to loving response, like in this instance, like knowing what is happened in the past and how to go to have this loving response, and what does it really means?
Yeah. So to begin with, we understand that um, going to loving response really requires us to know ourselves and what's going on, right?
Mm,
Our children sometimes are just reacting to also to our energy, right? So as you mentioned, so how do we break, we don't always know what's going on, but in a few minutes, in a minute or two, we can do something that keeps it real simple, and I call it 4 steps.
mm,
So the first step is to stop,
stop.
which breaks the energy,
Mm,
right? The second step is then to calm.
mm,
So we can use breath. Um, Sometimes we have to turn and leave the room. Sometimes we're the ones that need time out,
yeah.
you know,
To cool down.
um, to cool down. But that breath is so helpful, and it's become very popular in the science field of how breath
Mm,
really helps us to, because what you want to do is create that connection again between your
mm,
mind and your heart, so you
mm,
can really respond. And then the next thing after calming is to also assess what's going on, have
mm,
a look at it, and in the process, as you're calming down, to you know touch your child on the arm gently, or look into their eyes and begin to help them to feel safe, so that the next step, maybe ask some questions, become curious, whatever it takes to still get the job done, but get it done in a way that everyone can move forward. And so then, of course, is moving forward, the fourth step, right?
mm.
So it's stop, um,
Calm,
calm, and then
assess.
assess, and then move forward with
Mm,
action.
wow,
Yeah.
that is something that is very useful. That we could use. Even like for myself, I do kind of like practice similar stuff.
Yeah.
That means I will hold back on what I want to say. Like I
Hmm.
would, like what you say, stop, but I was hold back of what I'm going to say from my mouth, and use my I would say use my brain to think what I'm going to say, and not
Hmm.
say it, because sometimes the words that is coming out, it may be like what you mentioned about, that's the reaction, and that reaction may be not the right way or the right words. And by holding back is good also, and is also keeping calm. Yeah, and well, it's only the last part which is something that I've not practiced. Like assess about it and move forward. That is the part that um maybe you can share more. Like what do you mean by move forward? After you assess the whole thing, how do you move forward?
So yeah, because then usually the reaction is coming because something isn't happening.
Mm,
So or is happening that shouldn't be. You don't want to be happening.
mm,
So how do you create calmness? Well, every circumstance is different, right?
yeah.
So you have to assess or question, become curious. Like, why is the child behaving
Reacting.
this way?
Mm,
Is it because I'm all upset about something, or is it because they feel rushed?
mm,
Every child also has a way of being in the world. And this is
mm.
part of why soul language is so helpful. Just like us, I raised 4 daughters, okay? Every
Wow.
single one of them had a different way of moving in life.
Mm,
Some moved slower, some needed time for, certain things. So by assessing, we look at the situation and see what's really going on. And then we understand the next step. We
mm,
ask ourselves, what is the best next step for
mm.
moving through the situation? Because we don't want to ignore it.
Yeah.
However, we don't want to make a big mountain out of
Yeah.
it. right? And so by calming and getting into that assessment mode, now we're not emotionally, having that
Yep.
emotional reaction.
Correct. Yep.
Now we're moving forward. Okay, well, this is what has to be done. How can we get there? For
And
little
work
child.
and work
Yeah,
together with the child to move forward, right?
exactly.
Which is
And
very important.
yes, and yet not let them be the rulers. Right, still. And so there's a balance, there's finding that balance, and intuitively when we begin to learn and practice becoming more intuitively in tuned, we'll begin to understand how that works. And of course, another tool that I do offer is the soul language assessments, which allow parents to know themselves and their own energy.
Wow.
And how they show up in the world, what their mission and purpose is, in a very concrete way, because now they're really in tune with who they are in their unique combination.
Yep.
But also knowing that for their children allows them to have the opportunity to also have insight as to what also is going on.
Wow.
And how they can support that child.
I like the part about like moving forward and really come down to assess and to figure out what causes them to react certain ways. Like there may be some children that they do not want to do their homework, and sometimes by reacting, it's not going to get the job done. And like you were saying, to really assess and really ask them question, and why aren't you doing it? Is there a reason, or you don't like homework, or do you because you're afraid to get scolding, and just really to prop and really to find out the real reason and address them, because I realized that a lot of parents, they just brush it away, or they will just sweep it under the carpet. Another way is, which I find that it might not be the most suitable way, is to let the child rule the thing. That means, okay, you just do whatever you want. There are some parents that do that.
Yeah, and if I could add one thing, I always tell moms that children want most is to feel seen,
Yeah.
and to feel heard, and to know that they're loved, right? And yet that's also what we want as parents.
Yeah.
So when we can come together and really work that through, let our child participate in the solution to their situation.
Correct.
Let that, and learn to trust them, but also learn to trust ourselves as parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the last part, is to get them involved in moving forward, because a lot of time we as parents, we thought that we are adults, we make the best decision, we say, okay, this is right for you, but the child may disagree, like, mommy, you always rule, you always say that you're right, but do you know what exactly that I want? In that child they will know. And that's why a lot of kids grew up not listening to their parents, because the parents are not listening to them. And that is why they are not listening to their parents. So oftentimes we need to reflect of what we are doing also. And I'm just curious, like, how do you get into this path? Like, how do you come into knowing about this soul language, and even go to the extent of getting yourself certified? Maybe you can share more on that. I'm just really curious. I believe a lot of audience that is listening or watching, they are also very curious about it.
Sure. Well, as my life progressed, there were things that I needed to work through and to deal with from my past, life, and also the fact that I wanted to move forward and really set the example for my daughters, even after they were grown up, right? As I progressed in years. So there was a lot I need to work through. And as always, I'm sure everyone has this feeling of really wanting to know who they are. They want to have that identity, right?
Who am I?
Who am I? And why do I feel sometimes out of place, or I don't fit in, or like, what are these signals? So I met Jennifer Uruzio, who is in New Jersey also, and she is the one through which soul language came into existence.
Oh, okay.
So so I met her, and we worked together for my own progress, and I realized this valuable tool. and I realized how indeed how I understood myself better, and I learned how when I was in a conscious place in my life and when I was not. And so I began to see the value in those tools, and I was invited to really use this soul language as a tool to offer to moms and dads and their children. And this is why I do it. I believe that there is no reason to have fighting to resolve things. I believe that there's a solution for everything on this earth.
There's always a better way out.
It's a waste of energy. It tires us out and it gets nothing done.
It's not productive at all.
And it's destructive. So I also believe that understanding is the first step in creating a solution. So through soul language, parents can really understand who they are, who they be. Then they lack the resentment, because they know who they are. And they know how they respond. And so then as they parent their children, and then they have that, you see what I'm saying? It becomes the opportunity to raise that child according to their own energy. Theirs and the child's. So, or however many. So I saw this as a valuable tool to move actually the planet towards a solution-based, loving-based planet, realizing we're all brothers and sisters.
Like what we are doing now, and even with internet we are connected, even at different time zone we are connected. So like what you mentioned is something that I also believe in, that the world needs this one thing, which is love, that is very lacking in today's world now. And by coming together as brothers and sisters, regardless of race, language, religion, whatever you said it, all of us are what we call human beings or earthlings. The planet is ours. We are going to live in this planet. Everyone has a part to play in it. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, because now with technology and internet, like now we are connecting via video call. It's all possible. We may not have met, but through this platform we are able to meet, and it's so wonderful. And I like the part where why you started this, why you come into this, because you find a very huge purpose, a great purpose, and it has benefited you, and you want to benefit more people. And also that also explains why you're so passionate about doing this, right? Because for a greater purpose, for a greater cause, and not just for yourself, it's for the whole world, like you mentioned, like to create this as a loving planet, or loving earth, loving world. And that's why you are so passionate about it.
Yes, and I believe that through our connection with ourselves, we gain that through our divine connection, however that is. Because it's kind of like us being connected here on the internet together. We're connected because we're connected to the power sources. Without that connection, we would not be able to talk. Well, it's the same with our, right? So it's actually a thread, right? Our divine is the ultimate love. Right. And through that, we are all parts of the whole. So if that makes sense, it's it's about coming back together.
Which is true.
To our divine origin.
Correct. In whatever you believe in, whatever higher power that you believe in,
whatever.
Every one of us is as one. And we all started from one. And that's very true. And also you mentioned something about being more conscious, being more connected, and the soulful way to raise our children. Why is it important for us to be in that state, to be more conscious and more connected in the soulful way? Why is it important? Maybe you can share with us, Laura.
What do we all want? We want to feel happy. We want to know we're loved, and we want joy. And we are designed to be connected to one another. And as we live and begin to learn how to do that in a fuller way, we will achieve the peace we're looking for, the happiness, and the love that we're looking for. And that's really true. We all want it. We all say we want it, but achieving it. achieving it takes each of us, you know, and it starts with one, starts at home, starts with a family.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And someone have to start. It's like a domino effect or ripple effect. Then he has to start
Yeah.
from one, and that is why I strongly believe that there's a reason why me as a man is writing a book about mothers, connecting mothers, to interview mothers. I have no idea at all, but it has to start from one. And I find that is very therapeutic for me, because um, by me putting all this together, it makes me feel
Mhm.
connected. It makes me feel that there's no differences between you and me, genders and stuff like that, because all of us are coming as one to empower each other, and that is what I would say my life purpose now is all about. It's about empowering each and individual, but just that
Mhm.
I'm connected with mothers because of my background, because what I've done in the previous when I was with a parenting magazine.
Yeah.
I'm connected to a lot of mothers who start their business because they want to spend more time. And like even for you have four daughters, like
Mhm.
it's quite impossible to really take care of the four daughters in the job. It's you are not going to split that remaining times to the four children, and the only way out is to maybe to start a business or even to do something on your own, like being a coach
Mhm.
helping others. And you have touched a very strong point, which I believe that why um, I advocate about entrepreneurship is because as entrepreneur we can be very good role models for our children, because
Mhm.
as entrepreneurship our children get to see that because it's in the lifestyle, in everyday daily lives, not like you are in the job. When you're in a job your children can't follow you. They are not allowed to go into the office to follow
Mhm.
you to, because they can't contribute at all. But
Yes.
when you are
And
managing, yeah.
yep, go ahead.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
but like when you are managing your business, you can always get them involved because you're in control. So
Yes.
that's what I see in a lot of mompreneurs that I known in the past 10 years. They have some of them bring in their children to help them, and also to educate them that uh, that you need all these things like money though doesn't come easily. Money you need to put in the hard work, and this is why mommy is doing this, talking to these customers, getting this deal in, working past midnight and stuff like that, because it's not about just earning money. It's also wanting to put bread on your table, to really bring food back and really to provide, and to show you that even though let's say you're not good in academic wise, you can always do something else. There's always a better way out. And if let's say you have a certain skill, you can act on it at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you bring out a valuable point that I wanted to just touch on,
Hmm.
and that is, well, so I believe that a mom is really a foundation in the family.
Yep.
She's the one caring for the children, and generally she's looking for some way to bring something beautiful to the world,
Yep.
whatever that is, whether it's through art or business or whatever she's doing.
Yep.
And by by maintaining some of her autonomy,
Hmm.
she actually sets an example to her children
Yep.
of their value too.
Hmm.
Right? You
Yep.
cannot give to a child what you don't already
Hmm.
possess yourself. So
Yes.
the more a woman, and I'm not saying to the exclusion of her children, but the more she lives into her own purpose,
Yep.
the more she's valuable to her husband and the
Hmm.
more she's valuable to her children.
Yep. Yep. You're
So,
absolutely right. And this is what I touched on, and I talk about this with a lot of guests that I brought into and that I invited onto the show. We talk about the self love, the self care, and it's really to embrace yourself, who you are, and
mhm,
at the same time to be aware of your purpose in life. What are you made up for? Uh, what brings you to this life or this earth, and what you are meant to do, because there's so much that a mother can bring onto the table. And I've seen a lot of mothers helping other mothers, to empower them, to inspire them, like the mompreneurs in my book, 15 of them, and now with you, with all those that are coming onto the show, now we are on episode 45, and there are a lot of different stories, a lot of different mothers that are out there empowering, inspiring each and individual with their own story. That's where I believe that every mommy has a story that will help
Yes.
another mommy. And
Yes.
that's why by doing this show, I'm featuring all different kinds of story from all walks of life of these mummies, and hopefully that there will be one mommy that's watching this show that get inspired. Hey, I have the similar experience as Laura. I'm able to resonate. I'm able to feel. And she has 4 daughters. I only have one. I'm really inspired. If she can do it, I can do it too. Is to
Mhm.
really inspire that each and one individual that may potentially change their life with just that switch of perspective. Sometimes we
Yeah.
are too caught up with in our own world, thinking that hey, we are in the worst case scenario, we are in the worst version of ourselves. But hey, when you hear someone who is in a in a even much worse state as you felt that hey, I'm not that bad. I have someone who's even gone through the trenches, rock bottom, and now they just came out and now they are so empowering, so inspiring, and I want to be that. That is something that I feel that what a lot of mummies can bring to the table. Like today, I met with this mompreneur. She said that, "Am I good enough?" I say, "Why not? You are so much different from the rest who are in the workforce, who are in this rat race. They want to come out, but they do not want they can't come out, or they do not know the way of coming out. But for you, you have came out. You have took the leap of faith. You have took that big step, even though you just started entrepreneurship. But it's already a very courageous act on that. So you are good enough. So every
Yes.
step that we take is always for good. Nobody will take a step for bad, right?
Right.
So that also brings us to how to go from reaction to loving response. Like sometimes when we want to do something, we react according to it. In fact, sometimes we will like the 4 step that you have shared is to stop, calm down, and assess what are we doing currently. Like, are we moving to the right direction? Are we moving to what we are called to do? And that's where what is the next step? A lot of working adults, working moms are so caught up in the day-to-day thing that they
Yeah.
forgot to stop and reassess what their life is all about, and
Yes.
their life greatly will affect their children's, because time will flies. By the time you think about it, your children already in their teens. After that, they'll be in their young adults, and
Yeah.
that's it. And if you
Yeah.
are not not being true to yourself, being true to your purpose, and not living life on your own terms, your children will model after that. So do you want them to model the right version of yourself, the true version of yourself, or someone who's slaving he or herself to something else that there's no value at all? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I believe moms, they've got it.
Yeah.
They do have it. They just, but slowing down allows them to actually speed up because it gives them the platform to go forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it actually reserves their energy in a better way
Mm.
for them. And so what if we make mistakes? So we move forward,
Yeah.
right? As
Yeah.
long as we're making a step, that's what's most meaningful to us and to our children, and then our children will make the next step forward from where we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah.
Like you mentioned on the failure, like a lot of parents, a lot even adults, many people are so afraid about failure because the society tell us that we cannot fail. If we fail, we are not this thing, not that thing. But if you ever remember that before a child can start to walk, a child fail a lot of time, fall a lot of time, because through falling you are learning. Some people learn the hard way, some people learn it fast, some people learn it slow, but some people have to learn through bleeding, through hardship, then they will learn. So everybody learn differently. So if you
Yes.
are fear of failure, what will you think that your child will be? Your child will be the same.
Yeah.
Your child will not hear what you say, they will see what you do. A lot of parents just talk the talk, but they don't walk the talk. And this is
Mhm.
something that I always emphasize. It's always a reminder for myself that whatever I tell my daughter to do, I have to do it. If I do not want to do it, I I would not want to say that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So that is something that we have to be conscious and to be aware. And you mentioned about a lot of time we think by moving fast we are being productive. But sometimes by slowing down, taking a breather, in fact help us to move further, because from that break we are able to see things way ahead, or from a from a long from a long term perspective, or what I always say, the macro view, rather than really micro, really small, narrow and stuff like that. When you take a break,
Yeah.
you can look up and see, wow, the world is really big, really great. There's a lot of things I can do on the outside, rather than always enclose ourselves. So like what you mentioned, it's very important to take a break, and step and look at things at the different and really assess. And I believe like time really flies. Really, like we have a lot of things to share. And
Yeah.
what Laura has shared has been really very beneficial. And by the fourth step is also very important. Like for me, immediately I can execute it and even use it. I find that it's very very useful. And maybe Laura, you can share with us how can the audience get connected with you and how they can reach out to you.
Yes, yes. So I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find those links through my website, which is artofsoulfulparenting.com. And in that cover letter that's in that website, there's also an offer to speak with me if you would like to talk with me some more.
Wow.
It's a complimentary appointment. In addition to that, I have created this 4 steps and written a little page that allows you to have reminders and a little bit more there. So
Mm,
if you'd like to receive that, Ken's going to put that in the comments below,
yeah.
I suppose. So
Yes, yes.
yeah, be sure to check that out and get your copy so that you have something to refer to
Mm.
as you're working through the 4 steps.
Wow. Thanks a lot, Laura. And for those who want to get access to the free gift, you can check out the link below. I will add it in, the
Yeah.
link for you to access to get the free gift from Laura. And really thank Laura for this wonderful gift. And last but not least, as I mentioned in the beginning, that every guest get to ask the question of the day out to the audience and also to the next guest. So Laura, now is your time for you to ask the question of the day, so that this question of the day will be posted out to the audience who are watching and listening, and also to the next guest. So are you ready with your question of the day?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to ask this question in this way. I
Hmm.
want to know um, if I can make it a 2-part question.
Yeah, yeah, no problem.
What is your greatest challenge,
Hmm.
and what is your greatest win?
What is your greatest challenge? And what is your greatest win? Is it?
Yeah, because I'm going to be holding starting in September little things about the Hot Mess Mama think tank.
Oh.
I want mamas to know that they're heard and seen,
Hmm.
and that's going to accomplish that. So,
Wow, wow. So the question of the day posted by Laura is, what is your greatest challenge and what is your greatest win? Is that right?
yes.
Okay. So um do post your answer in the comment section to let us know and let Laura know that what is your answer to this question of the day posted by her, which is what is your greatest challenge and what is your greatest win. Do share it with us, and this question of the day posted by Laura will be posted out to the next guest. So the next guest, get ready for this question of the day and get prepared for that. So last but not least, Lauren, any last advice for the mothers who are thinking of stepping into entrepreneurship, or even to pursue their passion. Any last advice for them, Laura?
Yeah, well, I always want moms to remember that they've got this. They are not alone, and the way that they listen to themselves and see themselves and love themselves is what will end up being projected out into the world as well. And then just be gentle with yourself and move forward and have fun. Have fun.
Thanks a lot, Laura, for your
Thank you.
great advice for all the mothers who was listening and tuning in. So thanks a lot for making time, and I really enjoyed this session, and for what you have shared, really deep. And thanks a lot.
Thank you,
No
Kenneth,
problem.
and thank you everyone who listened. Thank you very
You're
much for
welcome.
having me.
Yeah. So Kenneth here signing off with Laura. Thank you for watching Mother Industrialist live show. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you, everyone. See you.
Bye.
Bye, Laura.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.